going on, folks? It's your man JQ right here on Geeked Out on Deftal Radio. This is Megan.
Hi.
This is Chandler.
Yo.
And guys, we are how many days has it been? Oh, since my birthday. Yeah, that's right. It's been about 5 days since my birthday. Oh, I'm sorry. No. It's been 5 days since Avengers Endgame. Just want to put that out there. So
We're basically like 1 week minus a day.
Yeah, minus a
came
day.
out
Thursday.
last Thursday.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, guys, this is going to be your spoiler-full Avengers Endgame episode of Geeked Out. So be ready. We have warned you guys. So if you guys have not seen the movie, you just turn this off and watch us like 2 weeks from now, or whenever you finish watching.
Or go see the movie tonight.
Go see the movie tonight. So, all right. So initial thoughts, guys. What do you guys think of Avengers Endgame?
That was like one of the best movies I've ever seen.
Yeah.
First off, they wrapped up 10 years.
11, 12 years.
11, 12 years, beautifully.
Yeah.
They couldn't have put a prettier bow on it. There's stuff we'll get into, and again, these are spoilers as to what ends up happening at the end, but I know there were all kinds of rumors that were flying around as to who was going to die and who wasn't going to die and the whole bit. And I think there were some surprises there, especially at the end.
Yep.
There were some surprises. There was a part of me that kind of I won't say predicted it, 'cause that I'm not going to be presumptuous to say that, but I'm not surprised as to how they ended it with one particular character. And again, we'll get into that.
We'll get into that.
It's from a comic book movie viewpoint, you can't get any better than this, at least at this time.
So I've watched this movie 4 times.
How many bathroom breaks?
None.
Okay, good for you.
None.
You're a young man,
I am the type that will sit through a movie until it's finished. I do not want to miss anything, so I do not. Thankfully, thank my bladder that I do not have to go to the bathroom in the middle of a movie. I've never done it. Never ever have gone up for a movie, even if it was like an hour long. So this, every time I watched it, I sat through the whole thing. But as far as what I thought about the movie, I thought it was horrible. Just kidding. I'm totally kidding. Let
me ask you this question. So you saw it 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see something in each subsequent viewing that you go, how did I miss that in the previous one?
Sort of. It only happened to me once, and it was a cameo that showed up that I'm sure that if I mention it right now, we'll talk about that later because that's one of our top 3. If I mention it right now, you guys will be like, what? I didn't see that person there. I saw this person there.
Okay.
So, it was more like cameo stuff. Storyline wise, I followed that story all straight through, and it was an almost flawless execution as far as how the movie came through. So, I loved it. It was a great way to end. As you said, 11, 12 years of Marvel Phase 1 through 3. God, I'm just looking forward to the next phase and what we're going to be expecting.
The new generation.
The new generation. And apparently, Homecoming is still considered part of Phase 3. It's like the last movie of Phase 3.
It's
not Homecoming.
It's not really a bridge.
Spider-Man?
I don't think it's really a bridge, but
Well, there's a few because they're not going to replace all the characters.
No. But Spider-Man.
But some of them I think are still going to be connected.
Yeah, but Spider-Man Far From Home is the last of Phase 3.
I saw this grid the other day where it showed the next anticipated ones.
Oh, I got a couple of guesses too. So, but we know that there's definitely going to be a Black Panther 2,
Here it is.
Doctor Strange 2.
Or no,
That's leading up to.
you're talking about the schedule for the next couple of years.
Yeah, pretty much.
There's going to be another
The
Ant-Man.
Eternals. Yeah, there's going to be another Ant-Man.
Yeah,
And then, of course, the Black Widow movie series.
Now, it's interesting with the Black Widow, considering what happened.
Yeah, I know.
In
so it's
Endgame.
going to be her backstory.
Yeah, it's her origin story.
Oh, I know. But the question is it going to be a one-time movie?
No, it's supposed to be 3, supposedly.
There's supposed to be 3
Supposedly.
Black Widow movies that are all
Tie
going to
in.
be origins
I
to a
feel
certain
like-
degree.
I feel like there will probably, it's a gamble with the women because the women movies don't do well. So
Tell that to Captain Marvel.
well, they really stepped it up for this, and they're kind of going above and beyond as far as the production of this one. So obviously they're already working on the first one, and then I don't know. It could be 2, but obviously they're going to plan on 3 because that's what they do with all the individual characters.
I think one of the 3 Black Widow movies is going to, and I don't know, maybe they'll address it in the first one, but I think it will be an exploration of the 5 years.
Well, yeah, but I think it's more going into the whole like backstory of her being somebody else, and that's why she changed her hair so much, and being a hidden spy and all that kind of stuff. Because we never saw any of that really. We touched on it, but we didn't really see it.
You know what kind of sucks about that is that we're gonna see more Black Widow movies, but we know she's dead at the end of this whole thing. So.
But I mean, I think that kind of is part of being a spy too. Mm-hmm. And they touched on it in this movie how she doesn't have any family, which we kind of already knew. But then they said her dad's name in this movie,
and she
was like, "I didn't even know my dad's name."
Yeah.
Well, I think also what will be interesting is looking at the dynamic between her and Hawkeye.
Yeah, because they definitely had some kind of romance
there's a connection there.
Hawkeye's a little cheater, I guess.
You know, there was a connection between her and Hawkeye going back to the original Avenger movie.
Yeah.
Avenger 1. I mean, the whole thing where Hawkeye got taken over by Loki.
Yeah.
And and she basically had to battle Hawkeye on the helicarrier to the point where she was able to shock him back into, who he really was.
Yeah.
And that had to be because of I'm sure that was probably, Loki didn't realize that there was that history, that it's amazing what history will do. How it will affect a person's mindset.
Here's what I hope. I hope that we could see Budapest, because they always bring that up.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it'll be part of her story. Let me try to find that grid, because it showed all the next movies.
I have a lot of it committed to memory already. So
now I'm trying to remember. was Budapest also, was that the event that was referenced in what was it? Was it
they've mentioned it several times in different movies.
Yeah, well, it was the incident that was mentioned in between that had to do with Nick Fury and Robert Redford's character.
That I don't know, because every time
remember in the Captain America movie?
Which one? Civil War or Age of Ultron? I mean, not Age of Ultron.
It was
Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier. It was Winter Soldier.
Probably. I don't know.
There was there was the whole. There was the talk of how Fury and Redford's character, who I'm forgetting what his name is, but how they came, they were at one point in an embassy and there was a siege taking place, and Fury basically was asking, let me do an operation, and Redford's character was like, no, we're going to do this diplomatically, and next thing you know, Fury actually pulled off the operation without anyone really knowing. But I don't know if it was Budapest or what.
I have no idea, to be honest with you.
Here it is right here. So we got Spider-Man Academy, Doctor Strange, Illuminati, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which we now know Thor will be in. Which
as Guardians of the Galaxy.
As a fat Thor.
Wait, no, it's... We won't say the fat Thor.
No,
we're gonna say the Lebowski Thor.
Yeah, that was funny how
the dude Thor.
The dude Thor.
Yes.
In the movie. He was wearing the Lebowski sweater in this movie, like the actual sweater.
Yep.
The Black Widow, or it says Black Widow, Leviathan.
Leviathan.
Right? The Mighty Thor, the Fantastic Four, the Wasp escape from the Microverse, Black Panther, Secret Empire, Spider-Man Dimensions, Nova, Captain Marvel and the Valkyries, Ant-Man, Masters of Evil, Warlock, the Thunderbolts, and the Avengers X.
That's kind of, I don't know, those titles are very specific, and I don't think they've gotten that far yet.
Yeah, that was the thing.
Or they have, I don't know if it would
when
be
I worked on Thor, they obviously had a working title, but then they changed the title they were coming out with.
I would think that they probably have a working title for each project. Not to say that that's what it will ultimately become, but I think they have a plan for what Phase 4 is going to be, a thorough plan, and that they have each movie identified as to what they're going to do with it. And like you said, they need to have a working title, because just calling it a Thor movie doesn't help.
Well, they called it Creature Report. They do that. They keep it hidden so nobody knows what it is.
I understand.
So
it's kind of like Wars and Blue Harvest.
Ant-Man was Cherry Blue, and Avengers 3 and 4 was Mary Lou.
Oh, wow.
So that way that the general public didn't know, so that they wouldn't be going creeping around trying to see stuff. Because some of the stuff they filmed in the parking lot at Marvel Studios.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
The parking lot.
Yeah, because they ran out of space.
Interesting. So I have a question, and I thought this, like, so remember at the end of the movie, and they're basically saying, Cap, you're going to go ahead and take the stones and return it to where we got them from, right? So one of them was Vormir. And who was it? Vormir? Remember the Soul Stone? Was it the Soul Gem? The one where Gamora and Black Widow died.
That was the Soul Stone.
That was Soul Stone.
Soul Stone.
Yeah.
Remember who's guarding that stone?
It was Red Skull.
Red Skull.
Yes.
Captain America's returning the gem. I mean,
well, but how? Do you, here's the thing: how do you return the Soul Stone when the Soul Stone was actually a prize?
I'd say you just give it to
You just
Red
give it back.
Skull. Because they said that somebody that was a demon guarded it, right? Isn't that what they said?
I can't remember what the word
But
was.
yeah, so I would say he can put it back because he's guarding it.
But what I'm saying is that Captain America shows up. He sees Red Skull standing there. You don't think something's going to go down in the middle of that?
Oh,
I feel like he's past it, because in the elevator he didn't have a problem saying Hail Hydra, and before he probably wouldn't want to do that because he's Captain America. The other characters wouldn't have a problem being like a spy or whatever.
Well, okay, to that point, you get.
I mean, I know why he did it.
Well,
yeah.
See, here's the other thing. You know, the question is, how much did Red Skull remember of Captain America?
That was the first guy that left him. Like at the
No, I know, no. But what I mean by that is, you don't know what memories these characters had. In the case of Red Skull,
I'd say it would also be an issue where if he's got possession of the stone that Red Skull's supposed to be guarding and he gives it up, then there wouldn't be so much of a battle because Captain America's in possession of it. So he's willingly giving it back.
I think something goes down. I think there's a story there somewhere that can be told, because, and here's why I tell you this. It's because if he can remember what Black Widow's dad's name is, and she doesn't even know, what's to say that he can't even remember who Captain America is?
Maybe it's just a sixth sense, but yeah, I mean, it does.
I think
leave it
something goes
open.
down. I mean, yeah, it leaves it open. I mean, we can speculate all we want, but
yeah.
I mean, that's what I was thinking about when they told, Steve to bring the gems back. So
No, I think we need to talk about the elephant in the room.
And that is
time travel.
Okay.
Logic says that if you go back in time, that it will change what happens moving forward.
Yeah.
And so they go back in time. In this case, let's go to Loki getting away with the Tesseract.
Mm-hmm.
And so now, and bear in mind that had happened, that had happened basically 5, 6, 7 years from earlier from where they were in the present time.
Mm-hmm.
What effect would that have? What did Loki do, being that he had escaped with
Maybe
the Tesseract?
that's how his dad got it, though. Because didn't his dad have it in the armory or whatever? And that's when Loki found it, or took it. So maybe that's
that's where Loki saw it.
Right, but maybe that just got switched up.
This is going to be the confusing part, because from my understanding, when Hulk spoke to the Ancient One, she basically said that, yes, when you do affect something in the timeline, it will branch off into another reality, right?
Yeah, she did that line, and there was that branch.
And then when you return the gem to that particular moment in time, it repairs itself and goes back to what it should have been.
So what?
But
Yeah.
ultimately, Cap did the ultimate breach in the timeline, though.
And he brought the gem back.
No. So he returns all the gems. I get that, but he does the ultimate breach, and this is the element.
Oh,
when
he stays.
And that is that he stays
Yeah.
back in time. So everything that he was involved with, including his interactions with Nick Fury, his interactions with Iron Man, his interactions with Bucky, all that would be non-existent.
Well, not necessarily, because there's still going to be two hymns. So the one,
How?
the present day captain went back and then came back into present day.
No, but
in an older age.
He came back in present day as an old
Right, and
man.
that was his consequence for screwing it up, for staying.
Here's the other thing. Okay, before we go on, here's the other thing too. They had this conversation already in the movie. They're talking about. So you're saying that Back to the Future, Hot Tub Time Machine, blah blah blah, 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 naming all these time traveling movies. You mean that they're all full of crap? Like yeah, like just because you change in the past doesn't mean that the present's changed. The Hulk was the one that said that. You don't remember that part?
I do.
So again, it just because it changed in the past doesn't mean that the present's changed.
Remember, because they went to New York and they saw their current.
Okay,
selves.
but I'll give you a very, very simple argument to that. Someone kills Nick Fury in the past.
Okay.
Someone kills Nick Fury in the past. You're telling me that doesn't change what happens moving forward?
Good. When now
How did the
what
Avengers come
okay
about?
what is it in relation to the time stone or any of the gems? Let's say Nick Fury gets killed, right? Is that before the gem gets returned, or is it after the
After.
I understand what you're saying, but ultimately, when he went back and took that time back to be with his woman, he was frozen during that time. So there were still two Captain Americas. One was frozen, and then the current day one went back and took that time. He was frozen to be with his wife. So the frozen him was still there. So they never saw each other. They never interacted. So then when the frozen one woke up, he completed that section.
Okay,
That
makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I think it's going to be ugly.
I still say though that
You're saying
when
it's
you
like
go
the
back in
butterfly
time-
effect.
When you go back in time, that's why they talk about paradoxes and stuff. You go back in time, as long as he is able to completely have no effect, and an example being, he can't have a child.
Right. Well, nobody did. They talked about it, didn't they?
He saw a
Oh.
picture. He saw a picture of a young lady when he went into in 1970 when it was the 1970 scene when he went into that base
Yeah.
and he saw a picture of a woman on that desk.
No,
That was
Now
his
that could
wife.
not have been Peggy.
Yeah, it was his girlfriend.
That could not have been Peggy. The reason for it is because Peggy, the woman that was in that picture, was in her 20s or 30s. Peggy, by that time, had to have been at least in her 50s. The
In
reason
the
for
70s?
it is,
In the 70s?
in the 70s. The reason for it is because, remember, Peggy was part of the original Captain America movie, which took place in the early 40s.
Yeah.
And therefore, you figure, even if she was 20 years old at that time, early 40s to the 1970s, that's a 30-year
Maybe-
span. So that means she would have to be 50 some odd years
Maybe it
old.
was her daughter.
But the daughter from whom?
Maybe it was Captain.
He never had a dance with her, let alone any kind of relationship with her.
I just assumed that when he went back, he went with the original woman. That was what I got.
And here's where, okay, if you remember at the end of, did you see the original Captain America movie?
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. If you remember, at the end of that movie, their parting words were that they were going to dance together when he came back from the mission.
Yeah.
Which he never did because he ended up in the ice.
Right.
What was at the very end of the movie that was part of the, let's call it flashback of him?
Them dancing?
It was him and her dancing.
Yeah.
That was him completing that promise to her, and that's what moved them forward.
I thought he meant that he spent time with her, though.
Oh, he did. But, imagine that he went back in time.
Well, because he could have only stayed while Captain was frozen, and then he would have had to come back.
He what?
He could have only stayed in there while the Captain America in that reality was frozen, and then he would have had to come back.
Come back where?
To present day. That's why he was an old man.
But I know, but the question is, how old was he when he was in the scene?
Probably
At the very end.
Oh, in his
probably
80s
70s
or
or
90s?
80s?
Probably 90s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
and that's why he referred to him.
He probably, I think, he went back to, the earliest he would have gone back would have been the 70s, and that would have been to replace that stone at the army base,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But
That's
then he
where
said
he
he was
saw
already
her.
there, and he decided to go.
And so what he did was, it was from the 70s on. So yes, the cap that's frozen doesn't get discovered until, which we're not sure when, because there really was no time tag put on that.
My head's just going.
Well, I just assumed
that?
he went.
My head's just going. we're just doing this right now. We're
It
going in
wouldn't make
circles. We're going in
sense
circles.
with me. It wouldn't make sense to me for him not to go back to the original woman. And
He
I
did
think
go back to the
Yeah, you did.
original woman.
Okay.
That was Peggy.
yeah, that's what I
So,
thought.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying though is, you said, oh well, we made the comment about a child, and you said, oh well.
Because I thought that when he was talking about getting a piece of what Iron Man had, that he was referring to that too.
No, he just
was
said.
referring to having a regular life,
Yeah, just
You know
get
what's
a
funny?
life.
So
having love.
Chris Evans said in an interview
Mm.
recently that one of the reasons he's done with the MCU is because he wants to have a wife and a child and have a regular life.
So you're putting your application in.
No.
Just kidding.
But my point is, that it's funny because both the characters are.
Yeah, it's very
Well,
similar.
You look at the two characters, and it was interesting because you had Iron Man, who had the relationship with Pepper Potts up to the point where the 5 years went forward. And that was, what was interesting was that you saw him change from being the self-centered, all about me guy that he had been all through his life up to that point, to now having something to put that attention on, and that was his child, his daughter.
Well, they touched on that too because when he went back to the 70s and met his dad, they made it a point of saying he was a self-centered jerk.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So it was interesting how Iron Man went through that change.
Yeah.
And it was also interesting in the sense that he ended up making the ultimate sacrifice. He had everything to go back to. And I think that's what had everyone sitting on the edge of their seat during the movie, was that
everything.
Who was going to pick up that glove? Was it going to be Cap, or was it going to be Iron Man? It would have made perfect sense for Cap to make that ultimate sacrifice because he had nothing to go back to per se. Okay? Where Tony had everything. He had the wife, he had the child, he had the family, he had everything to go back to. Yet he made the ultimate sacrifice, and he knew what would happen to him, or he had a really good idea as to what would happen to him if he put that glove on.
All right, and I'm going to comment on this. And after I comment on this, we got to come back do our top three. But what I will say is this: I think Tony knew all along that he was going to make that sacrifice, and here's why I think so. Because that glove, the second glove, was Stark tech. It wasn't Asgardian forged.
The one that was on his hand, you're right.
So
where you saw the gems all come, and
because nobody else could do that.
I agree.
Who else in that whole group could have been able to pull that off.
No,
that quickly.
I agree, and I think part of it was that was Tony's basically his plan B.
Mm-hmm.
In the event plan A, the glove
exactly
failed. Is that
That's the wrong hand.
But
yeah,
we could sit here and we could spend 10 hours dissecting the movie and all the aspects
this
of
will
it.
be the longest geeked out show ever if that were to happen. So guys, we're going to take a break. When we get back, our top 3 topics of the day. Stick around. We are back, and we are ready for our top 3 topics of the day.
Deftal top 3 topics of the day.
All right, topic number 1. This movie was definitely a very emotional movie, and I want to know, how many times did you get emotional throughout that movie?
I didn't cry, but there were some things I knew was coming. Mm-hmm. And this was kind of going into the spoiler realm. I was disappointed that they announced that Chris Evans was leaving because I knew he was going to die. And then it was spoiled for me.
But he didn't die.
Well, but he's going to die. He was really old. And then it was spoiled for me, too, about Iron Man dying because when it released in China, then I do social media, and I was seeing tons of stuff, people saying R.I.P. Iron Man. And I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, it's like, you jerks.
So then I knew, But for me, like, I mean, it was crappy seeing Black Widow die, but I kind of figured that would happen because of her backstory coming up and her being a spy. I don't know. For me, it's different because there were things I knew about.
So you were emotional more because of the spoilers.
Yeah, definitely. Because I worked on some of these projects, so there were things I knew was going to happen. Yeah.
Gotcha. What about you, Chandler?
Honestly, to me, it didn't make any difference whether I knew it was coming or not. The scene between Pepper and Tony.
In the beginning or in the end?
At the end.
Gotcha.
The scene between Pepper and Tony. The fact that her last words were, "We will be okay."
Yeah.
I think she said, "You can rest now."
You can rest now. Oh my God.
Well, I know that's what I'm saying. It's basically her message to Tony was, "We're gonna be okay."
Yeah.
You've done everything you can do. You've done what you had to do. we're going to be okay.
It's going to be interesting to see what they do with his daughter. She
With Morgan?
has to be an Avenger.
Well,
could be
And
the
we'll
next
get,
Iron
yeah,
Man.
we'll get to that in a
it's
second.
no different than Cassie.
No, we'll get into that. We'll talk about that in a second.
That's the next episode.
We're straight to the topic.
But
Okay.
for
For
me,
you,
it was
Pepper and Tony.
in the end.
Man,
And yes, it brought the little tear. Yeah. It brought the little tear. And so that was.
I can count at least 5 times where I was like,
you what?
5 times.
Okay.
Me.
What were they?
The beginning with Pepper and Tony, because remember, they had set that beginning scene up that Tony was.
Refresh my memory what that scene was.
Just like Captain Marvel getting the ship and bringing it back to Earth, and then Tony.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
And then like just Pepper be like, oh my god.
Yes. Okay.
And Tony being just totally like, I don't know what to do. Like we gave him everything.
We did everything.
And then when he said,
we got our ass wiped.
And then when he said, I lost the kid, and he was talking about Peter.
Spider-Man.
Oh, got me, dude. That one, and then what else? There was a couple others. Seen Scarlet Witch react to news about Hawkeye / Ronin. Like we found evidence in Mexico City. It looks like it's Ronin. I didn't even want to go check that out. And she's just over herself because she just wants her friend back, right? So that got to me. And then what else was there? Oh man, when Steve was by himself, and then all of a sudden you hear, "Hey Cap, to your left." Do you remember that part?
No, that was when the hole started opening.
The hole started. But remember where the to your left started from?
I thought that was going to be the end for Captain.
Refresh my memory.
When Falcon and Cap first met, Falcon was doing the laps, running around the big, the pool in Washington D.C.
Okay.
And then Cap was running, and every time he would pass him up, to your left, he's like, God, yeah, I know, and he's circling around. This is in the very beginning of.
Okay, but that was Cap saying to your
left.
left. Yeah.
So this is it's like a
Oh, okay. Now I understand.
Yeah. Before that happened, I thought that's when they were going to kill off Captain.
Oh no, it was so close because it was just him. So
it was Thanos' double-edged sword made out of vibranium too.
I think that's
because it was breaking.
It's possible.
Captain's shield, and nothing can break his shield.
Because remember, vibranium came from space, so it's completely possible that.
Well, because nothing else is supposed to break his shield, right?
Nothing else.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
So, but yeah, very, very.
Okay, so you named 3 that I heard.
And obviously at the end, when Pepper and Tony, and then even Peter. Peter was like, Peter was beside himself, and I was like, man, I feel for this kid right now. All the reunions that happened during the battle was what I thought was really cool. Like obviously when Tony sees Peter again, and then they throw a hug in the middle of the battlefield, and it's like, oh, this is nice. That one got to me. More funny than emotional. Like seeing Gamora save Star-Lord.
Oh, yeah. And Peter's like, oh my god. Yeah. And it's like smack.
Yeah.
Not the reaction I was expecting.
Yeah. But yeah, I think I was all 4 times that I watched it, I think every single time I saw those parts, I was like, oh my god, stop. All right, let's move right along.
Number 2.
Topic number 2. What was your favorite cameo? There were quite a few cameos, and I alluded to one earlier, and I'm going to listen to you guys first before I let mine out.
Well, we knew that. Well, you can say this one because I know you're going to say it. It's one we talked about in a few previous episodes. He was on The Hangover.
Ken Jeong.
Yeah.
Pardon?
I was the one of Ken Jeong.
Was that you?
That was me that brought it up.
Oh, okay. So Ken Jeong was in it, but he had no lines, and you could barely tell it was him. So unless you knew he was going to be in it, you probably wouldn't
I'm
recognize
trying to remember what.
He was the security guard.
Okay.
When Captain was going through.
Yeah, remember he was with the thick mustache.
Oh yeah. Okay.
The woman that got me was, I can't remember her name, but she's always on Talking Dead because she's a huge Walking Dead fan. She's an African American lady, and they gave her a speaking line in this where she was like, "There's people here. It's a breach."
Oh, she was part Community. I forgot her name.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, so that one got me because I couldn't pay attention. Because I have never seen her in an acting role.
Yeah.
I don't know. There was a lot. Oh, and you know what I really liked? When Tony was doing his dishes and he sprayed the water and he's like, oh crap, and he starts cleaning.
Mhm.
There's a picture of Stan Lee on the shelf. Did y'all see that?
No, that's his dad.
I thought it was Stan Lee.
Nah, it was his dad.
Was it?
Yeah.
No, I'm pretty sure it's Stan.
Why would he have a picture of Stan? It was his dad.
Was it?
It was his dad.
With gray
It was
hair?
Howard.
It was Howard Stark.
Okay.
It was Howard.
And then he pulls the picture of Spider-Man out from the back.
From the back.
Like,
from
we
the
couldn't
back.
see it. Yeah.
That was hilarious too because I liked it because they're like, yeah, and then like the balls upside down.
Yeah.
I was
But
like,
that's typical
yeah.
for
That's-
Spider-Man.
Oh, going back to the last one. So the last emotional part. Happy and Morgan sitting together. You hungry? Yeah. What do you want to eat? Cheeseburger. Your dad liked cheeseburgers. I'll get you all the cheeseburgers you want. I was like,
Well,
anyway.
and that's gonna lead into her being in the future movies with
Yeah.
him looking over her.
True.
Like, I guarantee that'll lead it into like him getting killed off in a horrible way, probably.
I don't know. I
'Cause
don't want
that's
to
how
speculate.
superheroes movies
Yeah.
go.
So, yeah. So you had okay. So
There was a couple. You got to give me more time because there was a lot. It was overwhelming for me.
There was a lot of cameos. What about
No,
you?
you go first.
Howard the Duck. I'm sure you guys didn't see him, but he was in the battle scene at the end.
Was he?
He was.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
It's one of those blink and you'll miss him scenes.
Okay.
But he was there.
See, that's what I was telling you before. Is that I was watching that scene because we worked on tiling for that for Thor. So I kind of knew that was going to happen.
What, with Howard the Duck showing up?
No, I knew that everybody was going to get together to rage into battle.
Oh yeah.
Because back when we did Ragnarok and the third Avengers, we filmed a tiling scene. So if you guys don't know what that is, it's where they are planning on doing a big group scene. So they have the camera facing straight on you, and they line you up like 6 deep, and then they'll film it, and then you move different people to the front, and you do it again, and then that way you can do.
And then they tile it up so you can make it.
So it looks like a bunch of people. So during that scene, I was only looking for the Asgardians because that's when I realized, oh, we're using this now because we filmed that long ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was trying to look and see who was in the crowd. It was just, it looked blurry when you first watched it, but there was so much in that crowd. Like, you'll basically have to go and get screenshots to see all of it.
Or watch it another 2-3 times.
Yeah, because I was trying to watch it, and it was like so much that you couldn't watch it. It was so deep.
So
I
yeah.
bet there'll be more stuff hidden in there.
Oh, I'm sure there is. I got. So like I said, Howard Duck, and we can't forget Stan's last film cameo.
Yeah.
And the way they did it.
Yeah.
Showing. I don't know if you noticed it or not, but if you watch the credits, it gave Stan himself did not have a credit. They had a credit for the Stan Lee character, and all they did was CGI. At least I believe all they did was CGI Stan's face onto that character or onto that actor, but it was Stan from when?
The 1970s.
The 70s and 80s, yeah. And Stan was a character back then. He really was.
Yeah, they definitely probably had a stunt guy because they wouldn't have him driving that car.
So wait, I got a question to ask then. If Stan was driving that car, can we say that it was his wife in the passenger seat?
That's what I was thinking.
Did we,
I'd have to
you know
watch
what?
it
I have to
again.
watch
She
it
was
again.
really
I'd have
young.
to watch it again.
And
Yeah.
I was focused on him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure it was his wife. But
That would be amazing. If that was his wife.
I would have to.
she was really young.
Yeah.
I'd have to look
But
at that again.
when they filmed that was definitely a stunt person.
Oh, yeah,
They
of
rent
course.
those cars out, the classic cars, and then they don't. Sometimes it's just like a borrowed car. So if something happens, then they have to pay for the car, which obviously they have the money, but they don't want to do that. So they get a stunt person. To do it.
What about you?
Well, Stan was give you one. The other, Jim Starlin.
Yes.
Jim Starlin. For those who don't know who Jim Starlin is the writer artist who co-created Thanos, and he was in the counseling scene Chris Evans, where you had those about
there's
8 or 9
yeah.
people all sitting around in a circle. Jim was in that scene, and it was funny because I saw Jim put up a post. It was over the weekend, and he said how he had to sit there and keep his mouth shut for a year, and it drove him nuts.
Yeah, it's
How
hard.
he could not say anything for a whole year.
Yeah.
Because he had shot that scene so early on, but just the fact that you saw Jim Starlin, and you had Stan, and those are my 2 favorite ones.
Yeah.
Those are my 2 favorite ones.
The fun thing about that though is that when it's fun hearing fans talk about it in public, and you're sitting there like, I know, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, instead of somebody being obnoxious and spoiling it, which is what I've heard over the past 2 days being in public, it's literally like, oh, I wish I could tell them, they'd be excited. You know what I mean? But
and the guy
I think part of it also is the fact that when you know the individuals.
Yeah.
I know Jim, and as a matter of fact, for those of you, after you watch this, be prepared for my interview that I did with Jim Starlin earlier this year. We'll have that up on the Deftal network as well.
Yeah, it's always cool to be like immortalized like that,
My interview with him, and we talked a little bit about things that had to do with the movie, and obviously about Thanos and the whole bit. So anyway,
any other cameos that you guys remember?
I was overwhelmed. For me, there was a lot of emotions.
Shout out to the original Ant-Man helmet that showed up on the desk.
What?
The original Ant-Man helmet. Saw that, and it was nice, little scuffed, little weathered.
Yeah.
God, what else did we see in that?
I liked that they brought Thor or Korg back. And
Korg and Mike,
Mike bug guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it.
Like, hey, this guy's talking to me on Fortnite again.
And Rocket was like, man, it smells like butt in here or something.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Not that was a cameo, but I wasn't expecting it.
Oh yeah, me neither. I was totally expecting like totally down and out Thor by himself locked up in his house.
Yeah.
Still fat.
Well, I didn't know it was going to be going.
Well, I'm sorry, but what caught me off guard, and I had to really chuckle, was we see the whole Lebowski scheme.
Yeah.
And so here it is. He's there, and he's got the beer belly and everything. But he's got the headset on, and he's like, listen, you little pissant. Do you know who I am?
It's the God of Thunder.
He's sitting there talking to a guy.
I will fly over there and rip off your leg.
They called back to a lot of old movies because they were talking about Back to the Future.
Oh, yeah.
When they were talking about time travel.
Bill and Ted's.
Yeah, they were naming all kinds of stuff. I was like, whoa, I wonder if...
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure those movies were like, yes! But at the same time, I wonder if when they approached them, they were like, Bill and Ted camp was probably like, wait, what? You know what I mean?
You never know. I don't know.
I just thought that was...
I'm sure they got they got clearances on a lot of stuff.
Well, I liked it, but I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah. Jarvis, the original Jarvis, also made a cameo.
Yep, he did.
Original Jarvis. He was at the very end of the scene with Tony and Howard.
Yep.
That was really cool. So, all right. Anything else? Any other cameos?
Well, I'll probably think of some by next week.
I know. So remember the last
again.
Topic number 3. Was there a part in the movie that you did not expect at all?
Yeah, definitely.
What would that be?
Captain being worthy.
Captain being
to use Thor's weapons.
Yeah.
Because nobody else has ever done that.
Wait a minute, Captain what?
Being worthy of holding the hammer.
Oh.
Actually, I was.
But what was funny about that though is that Thor. It was like Thor expected that to happen.
Yeah, Thor knew.
He was totally okay with it.
But I felt like they did that as a comic standpoint for those fans. But I felt like they also did it because they knew Captain was leaving. But he didn't just hold the hammer. He was able to control the lightning and everything involved. Everything.
Yeah.
What cracked me up though was the battle scene, where Thor had the hammer and Cap had the axe.
Oh yeah, he's like, let's trade.
And Thor says, "Give me that."
Yeah.
He's like, he hands the hammer to Cap.
You take the smaller one.
Yeah.
And then Cap took it back in time when he returned the time stones too.
Yeah. So what happened to it after that?
I mean, Thor could call it back at any point as long as it's not broken.
True.
Because he couldn't call it back in present day because wasn't it Thanos broke it?
No.
No. It was hella.
Yeah. So he could call it back anytime as long as it's not broken.
And I thought that was really cute how they did that with the whole time travel aspect, where he sat there and he's like,
and his mom was like, sometimes it takes a minute.
yeah.
Yep. So, yeah, no, that was probably the scene. I agree with you. That was probably the scene that I was like.
I was not expecting that.
I wasn't expecting it, but it made sense because I knew that eventually, like, he was the only one of the few that was worthy.
Yeah, he was like
of holding the hammer.
Literally, like the purest good you could be.
And that's why Vision was able to do it too. Remember that? Age of Ultron. You guys don't remember that? Age of Ultron. So they were like sitting around having drinks and like, okay, who could lift the hammer?
Oh, I remember that. And Thor was like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah. When Cap grabbed it and like moved it just a little bit, and then he was like, "Hold on." But I think after that, in the middle of like a fight scene, Vision had grabbed the hammer and handed it to Thor, and Thor was like, "What? Okay, thank you."
Well, I also think part of it was the fact is Thor did some mellowing out over those 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he needed it.
He, his Lebowski.
He needed a chill pill.
His Lebowski, moment where he didn't care that he's the only one that can control the hammer.
Well, this was the thing. So this was something that really resonated with me. Was with Thor. I think that he was so on edge because he was constantly trying to be what everybody wanted him to be and not who he really was. So when he went to meet his mom, she gave him a little pep talk.
Yeah.
And then at the end, when Valkyrie was like, well, "What are you going to do?" and he passed the reins to Valkyrie, he said, "It's time for me to be who I am rather than who I'm supposed to be."
Yeah.
So that really resonated with me because I was like, yes. Like, everybody expects him to be somebody that he's not. Like, even if he is royalty in that realm, he's not that person. He's not meant to do that. He's meant to do his own thing. Mm-hmm. Which I was also really, really, really excited. And I hope that...
But that's all part of the individuality of a person.
Right.
Is, you look at the perception of people and how they treat people.
Yeah.
And it's what their perception is versus what the person really is. I can't tell you how many times Sharon sits there and she will, she'll make a comment to me about the way I dress, the way I act, stuff like that. And my comment is, you know what? I'm me.
Yeah.
I'm me. If you don't like it, move on. It's not going to change me. I'm me. And not to say that things don't change. And you saw that happen. You saw that happen to Tony. You saw that happen to Natasha. You saw that happen to everyone from the Avengers after the snap. They all changed, but what ended up happening was they ended up going to their core.
Yeah. Because
the core won't change.
I felt like with Thor, it was an added element, though, because he is royalty or whatever. So it's like an extra expectation. Like, Tony's dad didn't expect him to do anything. He just wanted him to be a kid, and grow up, be his own person. And the same with Spider-Man. Like, all that just happened to him. But Thor is actually, like, supposed to do this.
Yeah.
And he's had that expectation his whole life, and he's probably had to live a certain way to lead into that. But what I was really, really excited about was him deciding to go back to the Guardians, and then him having that whole dynamic, again. But now, before Chris Evans, or not Chris Evans, but what's his name?
Peter Quill.
Star-Lord. Yeah. He was like pissed because Thor was so ripped and muscly, and now Thor's like Lebowski-ish.
I know.
So it's funny.
That whole interaction at the end with those two were hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, and you know that's setting the tone.
Oh yeah,
for what's going to be coming up.
I'm so excited for that.
For the Guardians of the Asgard or whatever.
As Guardians of the Galaxy.
As Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
I just thought that was hilarious.
You know,
Yeah, this is your ship.
But I hope Thor doesn't stay. That I want him to get back to his other physique.
Yeah, of course you do. Okay, Chandler, what about you? Anything besides the Cap and the Hammer that you thought was that you totally weren't expecting?
you know, I went into this movie not expecting anything, because knowing that there are so many different directions that they could have gone. Ultimately, I knew that they would prevail. I mean, I think we all know that. We all know that.
Good guys
But
win in the end.
how they got to that, getting to that prevail, the path that they took. You know, the Russos, these guys were great. They, the way they just built everything, the way they built the stories and stuff, the way they put the layers in there.
It was very, very, very planned out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and you consider that honestly, once they came on board, if I remember correctly, they came on board with was it
I think Civil War.
Was it Civil War?
I can't remember.
Yeah. But it was one of those things where I'm sure they came in with certain ideas, and
Oh yeah, I can't wait for the director's cut.
huh?
I can't wait for the director's cut.
Normally, I can't watch.
That's gonna be like 4 hours long. Huh?
Because normally I can't watch movies because when you work on stuff like that, it's very distracting if something's not really good. And this movie, I literally watched it like I used to, and the only thing that I noticed was the doubles because it's.
Of course you did. You're in the business.
Right, but normally, like, if it's a really, really good movie, I don't pay attention to that, but I did catch those because you're right. But I thought that was interesting, too, because it's not, like, logistically possible to have everybody there at the same time. And they were what impressed me was how guarded they were with everything. Yep. Like, they didn't have any as Guardians come back. The few that you saw were doubles and stunt people. They just were like, hey, go do this. And that's why you only saw a few of them. So they were so guarded.
Yeah, it's interesting because really you think about the battle scene.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw Groot come back.
Yeah.
We saw Drax come back, but did he have any lines? No.
Some of them didn't.
Well, Drax had lines. He had lines at the end when they were all ready to go.
But I'm talking about during the battle scene, though.
The one that plays, what's Michonne's name in this one?
Oh, yeah.
Denai.
I know what you're talking about.
So she only had 2 lines in this.
Well, and you had, you had all these characters that they showed up. They came through.
What I meant was more
fact,
like
a lot of them you saw coming through the vortexes and stuff.
Okay. But
you didn't see one-on-one interactions with them during the battle scene.
Right.
Now this is what I'm referring to specifically.
You got to wrap this up. You got to get to your point.
You're talking about with all the doubles.
Right. There were during the battle scene, what's Letitia, I think is her name, that plays the other girl from Wakanda.
What, Shuri?
Yeah.
Yes.
So she was barely visible. So I'm almost positive that was a double. And then when Bucky walked up to the bench, but he stopped and didn't go all the way, and they shot it from behind, I'm pretty sure that was a double too.
Gotcha. But
for me, it was interesting from that standpoint because they were so guarded with it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Sorry, I gotta wrap this up. This has nothing to do with the topic. So when we get back, last words about Avengers Endgame. Stick around. Yeah. are back, folks. Geeked out, our Avengers Endgame spoilerful episode. I'm gonna end it. Well, I'm not gonna end it, but I'm gonna start off with this last little piece of information. So, throughout the movie, we're looking at families, we're looking at reunions, and there are several young people that showed up that actually in the comics have a place in the Marvel universe.
Mm-hmm.
Cassie Lang is the first one that comes to mind because she plays Stature, and takes after obviously Ant-Man. And it's kind of funny because when remember when they reunited after Scott gets back.
Yeah, the 5 years go
Yeah,
by.
and then he looks at her and goes, "You're so big."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh my god, that's a shout out to Stature." Oh, amazing. So she's gonna be that. Then you have Morgan, and then you have obviously I think Spider-Man would actually play into this too, and I'll tell you where I'm leading to after this. What other kids did we see? Oh, Hawkeye. He's teaching his daughter how to shoot, so we
Yeah.
got that. What else? What other kids did
Did
we
you say
see?
Tony's daughter?
Yeah, Morgan.
Yeah.
So she could be one. But going back to the whole cameo thing. During Tony's funeral, they're panning to all these people, showing all these
As
people
groups.
as groups.
Yes.
They stopped at this one kid standing
By
by
himself.
himself. Do you know who that is?
No.
Do you know who that is?
No, I didn't.
Okay, at the end of Spider-Man 3, or during Spider-Man 3, Iron Man 3, Tony was shacked up with a little kid.
Oh.
And then at the end, for thanking him for helping him out and getting him his confidence back.
It's a kid he ended up landing on top of, so to speak.
Yes, and then he remember at the end he gives him all this equipment and stuff
Yeah.
that's the kid.
And where's that going?
He could be another Iron Man of sorts. He could
And then
build
his
own
daughter
armor.
could be with him too.
Yeah.
Because there's no way his daughter's not going to be an Iron Man, like an Iron Woman.
She's way too young.
Well, notice not right now, but notice she was like, "Oh, I found this in the garage."
Okay, so
She found some of Tony's equipment in the garage. She was like, "I wasn't looking for it." You know, she was looking for it. Kids don't go in a garage for no reason. So that made me think that they're definitely leading.
she could definitely.
And she was playing with the helmet too.
Pepper could be like a mentor because she picked up the what was her nickname in the comic books? Was it Rescue?
Well, especially if the kid that Tony saved knows about the technology already, then he could have already been building a lab or working on something of some sort where he's more familiar with the technology than Tony's daughter is.
Yeah.
So that could lead into the next Iron Man where they're working on stuff, and then Pepper's like, "What are you doing?" and gets mad, and then she helps them.
So this is why I bring up all these kids.
Right.
Young Avengers.
You think they're all going to get together?
Young Avengers. If you look at the
problem is the morality of it.
Well, if you look at the story of the Young Avengers, it was around a time when the Avengers were kind of disbanded. The comic books, obviously.
Yeah.
But, so what happens is that these kids get together.
Yeah.
And they're not sanctioned by the Avengers, obviously,
right.
but because they're so similar in what they have an Iron Man. Yeah. They have a Hulk. They call him the Hulkling, but he's a half Skrull, half Kree.
Yeah.
Wiccan, which is the love child of Scarlet Witch and Vision. Then there is what else? What are you pulling up there?
Well, I'm pulling up to answer your question about Pepper Potts. It was Hera, it was Rescue, Coast Guard, and Iron Woman.
I think his Rescue was the.
Well, there's some speculation about the X-Men and this universe being combined.
Yeah,
so if they
talked about that's Kevin Feige has been quoted as saying that that's not going to happen for a long 5 or 6 years.
Right, but if you're talking about them filming a Young Avenger movie, they could combine the two because they could use X-Men kids.
But then see, if you do that, you run into you're not separating the universe. I mean, not the universe.
I get
that. I would rather just have a standalone X-Men movie, and then you branch off, get the New Mutants, get the whatever. But to have it as as an add-on to Young Avengers, I wouldn't do that.
Well, X-Men does a great job of protecting the kids and not making it too like violent because they're kids.
Mhm.
But that's what I'm saying is I don't know how they would go into
Excuse
that
me.
with the young Avengers.
I mean,
I know. I'm just saying, like the kids. So I don't know how they would go
Wolverine's
into
one
that
of the
with
most
the young
violent
Avengers.
characters there is in the Marvel universe. Yet he's an X-Men.
No, I know. I'm just saying he's not a kid though.
But then, how about this? New Mutants is coming out. New Mutants is basically the pre, like your X-Men in training, right?
Right, but I'm saying X-Men
And
does
what's
a
weird
great
is they're
job
doing it as
doing
a horror
that.
film.
But yeah, see, that was my point. The New Mutants is coming out, and it's being billed, or the genre is more of horror than a superhero movie.
Right.
So how is that safer than?
I'm just saying, like, if you think about the kids that are X-Men,
Mhm.
like, yes, Wolverine's very violent, but they do a great job of protecting those kids so they're not doing the main battle. So my point is that if you have Young Avengers as the main characters, it would be hard, in a way, to not have those main battle scenes because they're kids.
First off, we are at least, in my opinion, 5 to 6 years away. We are a whole phase away.
So by the
from
time
seeing the kids coming out as characters.
Well, yeah.
So by the time they show these kids, they're probably going to be like
Teenagers.
late 16, 17, 18
Oh, I
years
see
old.
what you're saying.
See what I'm saying?
They're gonna be
I'm
older.
definitely not as like, freaking, here you go, 10-year-old, put on this
You
armor.
No,
and
like,
you have,
no.
what you
There's no
have
way.
happening. What you have happening is you have the new Avengers that are coming out.
Yeah.
You basically have
Sam Wilson,
Sam Wilson, who
Ant-Man.
will be the leader, I think, of the new Avengers. You know, being that he's taking the mantle of Captain America. Though it was interesting, and that's a whole other discussion. Cap's choice of Sam versus Bucky. Cap's choice of Sam versus Bucky to take the mantle of Captain America.
Well, because he knows Bucky's unstable.
That's
Pardon?
true too.
And he knows Bucky's unstable, 1. And 2, this goes back to the rumor of the next Captain America being African American. Because remember, we heard those rumors before?
And it makes sense. It's following the comics. Either way, if they chose Bucky over Sam, I still wouldn't have.
Yeah.
I would have been happy either
But
way.
Well,
Bucky
I
also
think-
stepped back,
I
too.
think part of it also is that it leaves Bucky open to do things that Cap or the Cap character wouldn't do.
Yeah.
The fact is that Bucky is an assassin.
Yeah.
He is an assassin. That's not something.
He's not
that-
pure enough to do it.
Well, that's why
I don't know if it's a matter of pure, because you look at Bucky. His heart, I think, is equal to what Cap's heart was.
Yeah.
They both came from the same place. You look at their history; they both came from the same place. But kind of what you were saying about Bucky being unstable, you saying Bucky being unstable. What you also have is the fact that Bucky has crossed that line.
Well, yeah, and it goes back to, like, the epitome of American soldier. Like, you have to be... That was the whole Captain America thing. You know, the character itself was about us, our country, our soldiers, and you have to stay within that. You can't be unstable. You can't be, like, outlandish character or whatever, because you're representing our country. You're us. You're our person.
And I think that's also why Bucky's tenure as Captain America in the comic books didn't last that long compared to Sam. Because I think Sam outlasted by a couple of years at least, right? He was Cap for a while. So
He's America's ass.
oh,
what I
that
mean?
part was hilarious. He's like, Cap, I salute you. That is America's ass.
Yeah, because he represents us.
I
This is
know.
great.
And,
were talking about
and okay, that was probably, you were asking earlier, one of something I didn't expect. I did not expect Chris looking down and going, "Yeah, that's America's ass."
Yeah.
Looking at himself on the ground from 1970.
was like-
70. But
No,
it was,
that was
2014
that
or
was
2014.
Tesseract got
Yeah.
stolen. That was funny.
Yeah,
So-
well, the fans were comparing his ass to Scarlett's butt.
Oh my
or
god.
Black Widows, and they're saying that he had a better butt.
Oh my god. I did not know that.
Yeah.
But anyways, I think um, we didn't really talk about this, but did you notice that between the 5 years from when Avengers happened and when the whole scene with the Tesseract and the present Cap, did you notice that he kind of got loose in regard to like the language and like talking like
Yeah, because
Wait
he
a minute,
went through
5 years.
yeah
The
From when-
original Avengers was 2012. That was 7
No,
Or
years.
he
7
means
years,
in the
but-
gap.
the
Okay.
gap. So remember in like when we first meet Cap, he's like, oh, language guys, like watch your language,
He's
whatever.
all structured.
And then in the current Cap, he's like cussing all over the place, talking about America's ass and all that.
Well,
I'm like,
well, just because of
I
the
think that's-
trauma he went through, and
Yeah.
he went through all those
Yeah.
meetings.
just a lot of
Let-
growing.
Let's face it.
Yeah.
You're, prior to Avengers 1, what has Cap dealt with? He's dealt with what I would call earthly battles.
Well, and he also
Avengers
realized
1 rolls around, and you got the sky opening, and you've got aliens coming in. That kind of changes things. It's kind of like, the same thing with Tony. You look at what happened with Tony. The change that happened with Tony from Iron Man, was it Iron Man 1 to Iron Man 2? No, Iron Man 2 to Iron Man 3. It was Iron Man 2 to Iron Man 3 because that was when he dealt with the first invasion.
Yeah.
Was in between Iron Man 2 and Iron Man 3. And that's when he started having that internal battle with himself. Cap, I'm sure, same thing. And the fact is that, again, you have this 5-year. That, I think, is going to be interesting.
Mhm.
I think we're going to see that played out in the next phase.
I agree.
Yep.
I think definitely they're going to touch on where Ant-Man's been and what he's been doing.
There's a lot of stuff.
Well, but so with the captain thing, I think that, yeah, he was so structured before being a soldier. And now, like, going through what he went through when he saw his friends die, I think it also made him realize that he could actually die.
Yeah.
Because before, he's been relatively, like, immortal, even though he's not. So I think that he definitely had that realization.
Yeah, he's like, I gotta loosen up.
Yeah, like, I could die. And then what?
Well, and what was interesting, you've seen over the years the dynamic between him and Natasha
Yeah.
changing also.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I kind of felt like they had a thing there.
I think they were like really close.
Yeah,
friends.
but it was kind
It was like right there, like if
Yeah,
it could have happened.
There was a little there were little points where, let's just say, it got a little flirtatious there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That being that they were in close proximity with each other, it would not have surprised me to see some type of physical engagement taking place. But yeah, here again, you're talking you for anyone who has dealt with soldiers, anyone who has dealt with law enforcement, when you have a relationship with people, it changes the way you deal with people.
Yeah.
When you face death, when you face the possibility of losing what you hold so dear,
Yeah.
and you're dealing with people who are dealing with the exact same thing you are. That's why you have guys that go into the military and it changes them so much that they come out and it's like even their own family will go, wow, I didn't, not that I didn't recognize you physically, I didn't recognize you emotionally because of things that people go through, experiences that they have in battle, on the battlefield. And that, to a certain degree, I think was well played out
Yeah.
in the 7 years that took place when the Avengers first came to work to fight together all the way up to this point. And so you had the relationships between Cap and Natasha. They're soldiers. They're ultimately soldiers.
Right, but there was definitely
What's that?
something going on there.
Well, but again, it's just what they have faced. I mean,
I think it also goes
truly
into
facing
her.
death.
I think it also goes into her character though, because she is a spy, so she's built to get close to people, and I think that'll lead into her next movie, seeing how she does what she does so well,
Yeah.
and nobody knows who she is. But that's kind of her persona too. Like not just being a woman, but just kind of putting that vibe out, because she had the same thing with Hawkeye, and he's got a wife and a kid or kids.
Again, 2 soldiers.
I know, but still, it was too much because nobody else was like that in the universe except
Excuse
her.
me?
Nobody else was had that flirtatious vibe with more than
You're
one
talking about in the
character.
Avenger universe.
Yeah, in this one. Yeah.
Well, like I said, I think you saw the beginning of it happening between Cap and Natasha.
Yeah.
And that's only because you didn't have that. There's a history there between Hawkeye and Natasha that we don't know, and I think we will see that played out in the next phase.
Yeah.
We will see what that history is.
We'll definitely see it in her movie, probably.
Yeah. So, and I honestly, I would be shocked if they didn't do an origin movie for each of the characters. They've already, obviously, certain characters they've already done origin movies, but I'd be surprised if you didn't see some form of an origin movie, even if it's a combination movie of certain characters, and it explores into what their origins are.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Anyways, we're way over our time, guys.
We could go on for
we
hours
can go
and
on
hours.
You know what? We didn't even talk about Professor Hulk at all.
Oh my God.
Okay, I will say one scene that I love when they went back in time and arrived at the Battle of New York, and then like, all right, Hulk, do your thing, and he's like,
Yeah.
That part cracked me up.
Yeah, he didn't want to.
Talking about when he grabbed the car and hucked it.
Yeah, like the little motorcycle, he just tossed it a little bit.
Well, he's figured out how to control his anger,
Yeah.
and so now he feels like it's too much.
Yeah.
Well, but see, in this case, it's not a matter. He doesn't need the anger.
No, not anymore.
He's got the physical, the attributes of the Hulk.
Because he's figured out how to control it.
I think he knows how to control him, and what it was is that it was him. Again, like you said, with the throw in the car, he could throw the car to the moon, but he didn't need to. So
I just thought it was hilarious.
Yeah. Mark Ruffalo is hilarious.
Yeah.
He really is. If you watch him in interviews and stuff, and the guy is a cracker.
It did kind of make me nervous though when the kids came up for a selfie, and then Ant-Man was like, "Oh, I'm Ant-Man. Don't you want a picture of me?" And Ant-Man was getting frustrated, but then Hulk was getting frustrated too, and I was like, "Uh-oh, like what's going to happen here?" It made me a little nervous, just because from past, when you make him mad or upset, he's So I was like, "Whoa."
That was so awkward though. He's like, "No, it's okay. No, here, take a camera."
Well, I'm surprised the kids didn't recognize Captain America.
Yeah,
I get why they didn't recognize Black Widow.
Yeah.
But they didn't recognize Captain America.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
So.
Well, maybe it's because he was sitting over in the corner.
True. Anyways, any last words? Avengers Endgame.
Go see it. Don't wait. Just go see it.
I've seen it 4 times already.
Yeah. And actually, you know what? I actually real quick. I read this. They have an explanation as to how it is that Endgame made $1 billion so quickly, and that is because I don't remember the exact number, but Doctor Strange had actually seen it 1,482,000 times.
Yes,
well,
I know.
They set this movie up so that that anybody could go see it if you hadn't seen any of the other ones, but a lot of the other movies you can't go see because you're like, what the heck is going on? I don't know who these characters are. I don't know the storyline.
The Russos said that you can watch 4 movies prior to this and be good.
Right, but you don't have to watch any, is what I noticed. But and like you have to know relatively what Marvel is, who they are. But you could literally watch this movie. You wouldn't get all the little stuff.
I think you need to see Infinity Gauntlet.
Well,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, not
Infinity War.
Right,
Infinity
but I'm
Wars.
saying you could still go enjoy it because it has everything in it. It has the battle. It has everything in it.
But then you wouldn't understand the relationship and the
Yeah.
backstory.
Well, you wouldn't understand all the little stuff.
Yeah.
Because we're not looking at it from that view. But I know people that have gone to see it that are not into this at all. They think I'm a weirdo for doing cosplay, all that stuff. And they've gone to see this movie because of the hype. And they're like, wow, this is a great movie. And they haven't seen any of the other ones.
It's just the movie itself is a great movie.
Yeah.
You know, it has all the elements of making a movie great. It had, it has the action, and it has, it has everything that allows people, because to a certain degree, when you really think about it, the fact that they go back in time and everything, what they're doing is they're now creating its own self-story of how this battle ultimately comes to fruition.
Yeah.
Even though what set it up was
And they
Snap.
didn't forget about anything. They filled in all the holes.
They did.
For me, it was exciting to lead into Guardians because I personally was never really into Guardians. But
How could you not be in the Guardians? Guardians of the Galaxy 1 was one of the funnest
because
movies I've ever
Star
seen.
Lord's character, which is the same he has in Jurassic Park, I don't like that character personally.
But bear in mind, that character, Star Lord, was there first.
I know. I'm just saying, from a personal standpoint, I don't like his personality. So I don't like not him. I don't like the characters he plays are pretty much the same. So I don't like that.
Well, if that's the case, then that's a reflection on Chris and his ability to act.
Well, no, because there's plenty of people that play characters in movies. They're like, oh, I want you. It's typecasting essentially. But anyway, so I'm excited for the new Guardians, which I wasn't before, but maybe just because Thor's in it.
Well, now you have Thor.
Yeah.
You have the whole Thor element.
From watching it, that there was a lot of scenes I recognized where they filmed. Like the funeral scene, I think was shot in Conyers, Georgia.
Okay.
And stuff like that was cool for me. In Conyers, Georgia. So the Marvel Studios actually in Fayetteville, and so they shoot a lot of stuff there, but they shoot a lot of stuff on location too. So for me, it was exciting, and I'm sure a lot of people in Georgia that had visited Georgia were excited about that too. To be like, oh my God, it's there, you know? Yeah. Like that was this or whatever.
So much. So much fun. I mean,
know.
we are almost 2 hours into the show.
We are not.
No, I think it's like an hour and a half.
We started about 2:15 and is now.
We did not start at 2:15.
We started 2:30.
2:20.
It was 2:30.
Either way, we've been talking quite a long time
because we love this.
I know. So
we'll have to do it again.
We're going to argue on camera as to how long we
started. I know, guys. If there's anything that we missed that you guys want to talk about, hit us up in the comments, and we'll answer you as soon as possible. So, with that being said, thank you for tuning in. I'm your man JQ. This is Megan.
Hi.
And this. Bye.
Yo.
Sir. And we are out of here. Have a good one. Peace. Geeked out right here on Deftal Radio. If you want to get more content from us,
better make sure you hit that subscribe button. Don't know what you're missing.